Welcome to Demoland, a lower middle income country representative of the developing world. It is characterized by a population that is relatively young today, but expected to grow older as women are having fewer children than in the past. Nevertheless, the future is bright for young and old alike. In Demoland, youngsters can feel confident that what they put aside today will help the state looking after them tomorrow. Sure, the golden age here still comes with its share of sore knees and clunky hips, but the unavoidable trials of life are so much easier to take when everyone is sure to have enough income thanks to a solid Social Security pension scheme. People at the end of their demanding working lives do not worry about the loss of their working income because they have the certainty of receiving sufficient pension income, and that allows the maintenance of people's standard of living across generations. But it wasn't always like this in Demoland. There was a time when pensions in old age were a privilege, accessible only for a minority of people, such as civil servants, while most of the elderly had little to look forward to, especially those with small or no family to rely on for income security. Many elderly ended up poor with no security, and in many cases were even left out in the streets with no food and no shelter. That was until Minister Sarah stepped in. After engaging for a long time with social partners who were also asking for better social security, it became clear that having people contributing to Social Security could mean that the state was able to provide a pension to them when they need it. Public pensions ensure that people can have a decent and dignified life. The minister and her cabinet were convinced that pensions also create growth and development. This is crucial in a demographically challenging context where the elderly population is becoming a bigger and bigger proportion of the total population, resulting in a heavier burden for the working age population. Now in Demoland, there are 8 persons between 15 and 64 years old for each elderly person aged over 65. In 50 years, this ratio will be 3:1. Representatives of employers and workers and other financiers were concerned about the affordability of all this. The minister knew from her technical advisors that Social Security pensions could become a big share of the state's social protection spending, representing almost the 40% of the total social protection expenditure. While acknowledging that the pension reform should be affordable and sustainable in the long term, the minister's main motive for the pension reform was to ensure sufficient income security levels, avoid poverty, ensure social cohesion, and smooth consumption activity at all stages of life. She knew other countries were busy reforming their pension systems, either by extending the coverage or making parametric or structural modifications to existing schemes. She also knew that not all of these pension reforms were successful, as they put emphasis on the important dimension of long-term financial sustainability, but without addressing the fundamental aspect of adequate pensions for a decent life, translating into fewer people in the future receiving a pension and lower benefits. In some cases, the social impact could be dramatic.
That's why before tackling pension reform, it's always a good idea to gather some advice on how best to address reform policies and what exactly happened in other countries. Let's learn from other experiences. In reforming your pension system, the goal above all is to provide adequate pensions to all, while ensuring financial sustainability. Generous pension promises, if not backed by sound financing, will never materialize. On the other hand, in a financially sustainable system which does not meet social expectations, people are less willing to contribute. When reforming your new pension system, you'll need to keep in mind the national demographic, economic, and political context, and the social and financial challenges of your pension system. Think of it as cooking up a great big soup. Now, the first key ingredient to put in is state responsibility. Responsible government means many things, of course, but two in particular: acting with integrity and being the ultimate guarantor of the right to adequate pensions. The second ingredient you need to cook up successful pension reform is a good design. Good design is based on solid design principles, ensuring universality in the simplest, most cost-effective way. Participation of all in the Social Security pension system. Minimum benefit guarantees for poverty alleviation purposes should avoid becoming a disincentive to work and pay Social Security contributions. Government financing of the pension system should be transparent and effective in delivering adequate pensions. A national social dialogue of tripartite stakeholders, meaning employers, employees, and government, will strengthen the sense of ownership and take into account the actual needs of the population. The third key ingredient is to pay close attention to cost efficiency and delivery effectiveness. When reforming your pension system, a robust policy approach is necessary to avoid costly mistakes and to secure success. A 4-stage approach is proposed. Everything starts with specific and measurable pension policy objectives. Extend coverage to all. Mitigate the risk of old age poverty. Secure adequate pension income. Achieve intergenerational and intra-generational solidarity and equity. Ensure the long-term financial sustainability of the public pensions. Building on good country practices from all over the world, the ILO Social Security standards can help you to set measurable goals on coverage, level and duration of benefits, and other provisions. Once you've established specific goals for your pension policy, stop and take a long, hard look at what works and what doesn't in your pension system right now.
Applying evidence-based analysis, you will be able to identify the specific challenges faced by our national pension system, which directly relate to the policy objectives you have set. As far as extending coverage to all is concerned, challenges may include low enforcement of coverage. When it comes to mitigating risk of old age poverty, a fragmented first tier of the national pension system could be among the problems you'll run into. While striving to secure an adequate pension income through the effective design and sufficient indexation, you might encounter distortions in the labor market, including underdeclaration of wages and no social trust in the scheme, and informal employment. To achieve intergenerational solidarity and equity, what defines a pensionable salary and eligibility conditions may pose a challenge. And finally, in tackling the long-term financial sustainability of public pensions, you may discover that certain social insurance schemes are not financially viable in the long term, or that investments in your policy framework are currently inadequate. When Minister Sarah and her team found many of these problems were indeed plaguing their country's pension system, they did the smart thing. They turned to international best practices, designed specifically to help select the right policy options for successful reform. With a bit of hard work, patience, and perseverance, Minister Sarah and her team then put the following policies in place: universal coverage, minimized risk of old age poverty, adequate pension income to maintain the same standard of living, intergenerational and intragenerational solidarity and equity, long-term financial sustainability of public pensions. To make sure the hard-won reforms stayed on track, the team has kept an eye on key performance indicators since implementing the reforms. Performance indicators are useful. They showed and continue to show that everything in the Demoland pension system is running smoothly. After all their hard work, Minister Sarah and her team discovered the most telling and perhaps the most rewarding performance indicator of all: